camera to kick in here, that's why. Once that, oh, look at that.
We brought out some of the maps of the proposed zoning changes in the back that are bigger, which makes it easier to see, so if folks want to look at them, they're right back there at the table.
There's some printed ones on the table.
These are bigger, so you can
Yep.
see
Yeah, if you wanna
properties
see
and
the
decide
close.
which property is what.
What's that? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's now 6:32. Would you please rise if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amber Benson. Here. Bruce Brock.
Here.
Ronnie Lucy.
Here.
Joseph Wetmore.
Here,
Edward Levine.
Here. So, first item on our packet, which is actually number 4, is, can anybody hear me out, first of all? Yes, yes? Okay. Is the public hearing on proposed local law 2023 of the Town of Lansing to amend certain provisions to the code of the Town of Lansing, Chapter 270 zoning. So would someone like to make a motion to open this?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
I think that was Joe and Ruth.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
So, now we're open to the public. If people want to come and comment, is there a time limit for this? As far as per person? Like privilege of floor?
Not per person, no.
Okay.
I mean, you can make a time limit.
Well, within a reasonable amount of time. So if people want to come forward and share their comments, please do in an orderly fashion. Hi there.
Hi, my name is Allison Tredan, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of myself and my husband, Kurt Martin. We live at 59 Emmons Road, and we spoke with the board at the last meeting and have sent some letters as well. And we just wanted to thank you for the thoughtful consideration that you've put into the zoning and for recognizing the difference in our property, which sets it apart from our neighbors and the surrounding properties. We are happy to see that the new map reflects that. So thank you very much again for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. And that was Allison, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Also on here I have, and I apologize in advance for all of this, if I mispronounce names, Ethan Badnarik?
That was just the normal signage.
Okay, no, you have this is the one for the public hearing. But, so you have the opportunity to decline if you don't want to. Well, at least you were offered, okay? And Elizabeth Badnarik, I think we have the same situation? Okay. And then we have Michael. No, this is about the public hearing. Do you have a comment about the public hearing? Okay. All right. You want to take a moment? We can pause. Okay. Anyone else want to have comments? This pertains to the public hearing for this. Okay. Hi there.
I feel a little lonely. My name is Patricia Venevri, and I live on Emmons Road. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know. And some of the other residents of Emmons Road are so upset they couldn't come tonight, to tell you the truth. And so I feel kind of lonely being here tonight because I wasn't really planning to speak. But I'll give it one more try. And I want to thank all of you for giving of your service to be on a board and work through difficult things. Politics has become so crazy that you're really admirable to be here through these times. But to the case in point, I had made some notes and didn't think I could say them, so I guess I'm just going to talk. And that has to do with thinking about the concerns in Emmons Road right now. And I understand that paperwork was sent in by the people who spoke ahead of me, and they're appreciative of your consideration for their needs. And I would ask the same thing, that you show consideration for the other people, many more people on Emmons Road, for our needs. And I guess I come from two different points of view, and one is sort of asking you to be kind of visionary, if you would, is not about the concerns of Emmons Road Lansing today, but of Emmons Road Lansing in the future. And I'm not talking 5 years or 10 years, but I'm talking in the future. And every time any very productive land goes into a parking lot or into a dollar store or anything, those are acreages that are coming out of potential food that's going to feed the world. We have food now. We're very fortunate. I had the very wonderful opportunity to live in Netherlands for a year and see how land, agricultural, is so earnestly protected in that country. They are saving land, reclaiming land from the ocean, building dikes to save it. And so there's very strong direction about agricultural land, about land. The other piece there is that they went through World War II, and those people starved because there wasn't food there to feed them, okay? So with that backdrop and that history, they make decisions, their governments, local and national, make decisions in favor of preserving the land so that it can feed their people. Because we don't know what's ahead of us. They didn't know what was ahead of them. So I ask you here, as we're sitting here, let's be visionary. Let's think about how we're going to, yes, there's this little piece, and then there's this other little piece, and over here this other little piece. But where do we start? Where do we really make decisions in the future and be visionary for future generations? Maybe your kids, maybe our kids won't live in Lansing, but somebody will. How are we going to feed them? Okay? So it comes back to everyone. I want to bring you right back to Emmons Road. And I remember when I was growing up, and my father was a farmer, and I'm a lover of land, and I'm a lover of farmers. And I can remember one thing, my father had bragging rights, and I remember him saying it, and I don't remember the particulars, but I remember the field. And he had bragging rights, and I don't remember if it was a crop of corn or oats or wheat, because those were common at that time. But whatever he had planted in this field on Emmons Road had the greatest production per acre, bushels per acre, of any field in all of Tompkins County. That field on Emmons Road. That field in Emmons Road is half of a parking lot right now. Think about it. While you're thinking about decisions in the future, be visionary. Have the courage to be visionary. Entertainments can be lots of places, but the production of the food, the preservation of agricultural land, sometime that has to become paramount. Thank you.
Does anyone else like to make a comment during this time in the open hearing? If not, do we move to closed out public hearing?
Sure, I'll move.
I'll second.
It's okay to be number two.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, item 5 is the resolution making a negative, excuse me. I always thought it was declaration. I'm like, is this- No, they always say neg, right, neg deck? Okay. Resolution making a negative determination of environmental significance under the State Environmental Quality Review Act and adopting local law, we have it here, right, of 2023 of the town of Lansing to amend certain provisions of the code of the town of Lansing, chapter 270 zoning.
I'll move that.
I'll second it. I'm glad to see the map in the packet has gotten rid of the track changes essentially that were on the previous version.
Is there any other discussion? If not,
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Bruce Roth,
Yes.
Brian Wolsey,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes,
Edward Levine.
yes. Okay. Item 6 in your packet, privilege of the floor, limited to 20 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have a list of anybody that has filled it out? Mrs. Munson's getting her exercise tonight, her steps. I apologize again in advance. I left my glasses in the office, so I may have a few pauses now. Not that anybody else on this table has had that situation, but so be it.
I can hold it over here if you.
You know, I would be upset about that, but you're
That's
pretty
about
close to the
right,
truth on that one.
Anna, you just trying to explain why this isn't going to be a 45-minute meeting?
It's going to be stumbling and bumbling here. Unless you want to let me go out to my car and get them, but anyways, I think I can muddle through it. If not, I got 4 very sharp people who will keep me on track. Okay. So privilege of the floor, we have Allison again.
I decline.
That's fine. We always want to make you have the opportunity, okay? We have Michael Kulata. Please come forward. You have up to 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Michael Culata. I'm a landowner at 4 Ridge Road, and I'm here tonight to talk about the adjacent land at 2 Auburn Road, which is a kind of a abandoned house that the town, I believe, purchased last summer, and is a trash site. It's an unsightly area that is collected some active trash over the period of time, and it's next to my property, and I was out there last week clearing trash that had migrated from from this parcel to mine, and saw that it looks like it's growing a little bit, despite the fact that, you know, you can't pull a vehicle in because there's a concrete barrier, but the concrete barrier also prevents the cleanup. So I'm here to ask about the plan for cleanup of that town-owned property at 2 Auburn Road, and suggesting that that getting trash in is prevented by the barrier, but also getting trash out, and there's a fair bit of it is prevented by the barrier. And so, you know, I'm interested in helping and assisting in any way that might be facilitated. I'd like to see that area cleaned up, and I think it's a nuisance, and I think it's an eyesore. It's right across from Rogues Harbor and, as you know, the Dandy Mart. And perhaps it might be too big for a youth project or something like that, but if there were assistance, it could be a project that might be a community builder project, and I would support that if that was envisioned. But I'd like to hear if there's going to be a plan for clearing what is a nuisance and an eyesore at that property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jesse Young.
Hello. As Ed said, my name is Jesse Young, and I'm here representing my family, John Young, Susan Barnett, James Young, and Julie Young. And I wanted to talk briefly about the Emily Jonas Falls Trail. We're trying to do a subdivision over there, and we're dealing with the planning board on that, and they wanted me to come in and make sure that the town board was aware that we're willing to redonate the trail back to the town. And I mostly wanted to come in and get that on the public record, and I know several of you, if not all of you, already know most of that situation. That's pretty much all I have to say, actually. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me on it. You probably spoke with my uncle earlier today, but...
Well, just to clarify, with the privilege of the floor, we listen,
Okay.
and there's a 2-minute possible if you want to comment. Mostly we just listen and take in what you're saying and move from there.
Okay.
So it isn't like we don't care, we're just listening to you.
Right, okay. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say. Our family's certainly willing to donate the trail back to the town via an easement, and that basically remains an open door.
Okay?
Thank you all.
Thank you. So those are the names on the privilege of the floor sign sheet. Is there anyone else that wants to exercise this privilege? Okay. And we'll keep those files there for Mrs. Bunsen. I guess we'll move on then from privilege of the floor. We'll go to the department.
I think we get to speak back, so, right?
If you want to, up to 2 minutes.
Okay. I would like to just reiterate a question that I've had, which is the same as Michael's. When are we going to deal with 2 Alpin Road? Because it's been sitting there, and I see the same thing. It seems to be accumulating more garbage.
So this is something I was going to comment on at the end, but I can comment on it now, is that we're going through the process now of getting bids to demolish the house because of the asbestos, and now we're going through the protocol of how to do that.
Okay.
So there is progress. I know sometimes glaciers move faster than it appears, but there is progress on that to get the bids out there, to go through the proper procedure to put the bids out, and then for us to determine, and hopefully by our next board meeting, hopefully we'll have a determination on which company to pick if we follow those procedures,
Okay.
and move forward from there.
And the timeline from moving forward, do you have any idea of that?
I
understand.
We're in a crazy world right now, and who knows? Maybe there'll be people hungry for work, and they'll just slam it right through. We'll be the first on the list. I don't know. I do know that talking to our code officer, Scott Russell, that, and Heather can probably attest to this, they have been trying. And this is somewhat, unfortunately, I drive by it every day also, and I go, oh, that's all I have to say. And so there is a plan to come in place to remove the house and take care of everything. There, I say everything means the garbage and everything else, because it is an eyesore, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah. As far as Jonas Falls goes, since I like to maybe have a brief discussion during Pat's report, you know, as far as this goes with the trail, okay? And I'll just limit those comments right now. I'll expand a little bit later, but I have a 45-minute goal, which I don't think I'm going to make, but that's okay, right? No, these are all good comments. And we're very selective when we make comments here to people, and I know, Michael, you were concerned about this, and we're not ignoring you. Same thing with Jesse, we're not ignoring you when we hear these things, okay? So anyways, moving on. Department reports. As we go through this massive amount of paper. But it is the world we have lived in, right? So we have the library report.
What page does that start on?
Well, give me a second, I got the trombone. 53.
Thank you.
53. Do you want to add anything to this, Andra?
No, I think that the library's doing an excellent job. coming out of the restrictions of COVID. They've been wonderful. And every week they get more people signing up for library cards. I mean, and more books go out, so things are going very well.
Very encouraging, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
almost like things are surging.
Yeah.
I was in Pat's office the other day looking at the community center, and 2 years ago, I could have picked any day to pick anything in there. Now it's like, I want to do a few things over there, Pat, next year, so I want to have a conversation with you now to maybe do this in advance, or at least have an opportunity to book these, because everything's filled up.
That's good.
It's very good. People are getting out.
Maybe we should build one.
Whoa.
I'm open, I'm not a no.
Did I hear you say you're looking for grant money?
Big grants. Okay. If nothing else, Lansing Youth Service Report is also here for us. And then we have the Tompkins County Legislative Report. Mike's here. Hi, Mike. And how is Hazel doing?
Hazel's doing great. She sleeps through the night, which people say, no, she doesn't. I go, yes, she does. I have a very sleepy family, though. It's a genetic thing. Before I start with this report, though, I'm just going to take a second. The building that is an eyesore, I think maybe what would help would just kind of clean up around outside. Like, I recognize that we want to knock the house down, and that's awesome. But, I mean, there's just trash outside. I mean, I would think that we could, like, I will come over on a Saturday, Ed, if you want to go over. We can bag up some trash. I mean, I think that would just make the world of difference. I mean, it's one thing to have an abandoned house, but an abandoned house with just random trash.
Well, let's be careful with our enthusiasm, because there may be syringes over there,
So, well, yeah.
and we don't want anybody to get hurt.
We can call the city of Ithaca, they're good at that.
I'm just saying.
That
But anyways,
was a joke, sorry.
I'm looking forward to your report.
All right. Anyway, so next week, the big kind of news, I think, is this change of the FEMA maps. You know, it's going to have a huge impact on Ithaca. There is going to be some presentations next week on this. About 850 homes in downtown Ithaca, but, you know, if you're in Lansing, even though the number of homes is fewer, if you're one of those homes, it's kind of important. So I have the list right here, pretty much all the addresses that are going to be included now in this map, mostly Lansing Station Road, Salmon Creek Road, a couple in Ludlowville there, Myers Road. So, you know, I would encourage anybody, you know, if you see your address on this list, I didn't include their names, we have their names. I don't know if the town's going to reach out to them or what's going to happen, but they might want to make one of these meetings. If they have any questions, please call the town or call me. You know, I've been working on a plan to kind of mitigate the size of the new floodplain downtown. There's not much we can do, I think, in Lansing, just because of the creeks there, but there will be an appeal process. I hope folks with questions do go to those meetings. The first one is Wednesday. It's the 26th of next week. That's from 4:30 to 8:30 at Ithaca High School cafeteria. And the other one, they don't usually hold to, but they did in our case because there's a lot of interest in this. Thursday, the 27th, from 4:30 to 8:30 at the Tompkins County Whole Health Building. That's right up on Brown Road there, 55 Brown Road. I mean, for downtown Ithaca, if all these houses are included, I mean, that could be a $3 million money suck right out of the city. That's not going to bring them anything except for insurance for the 100-year flood. And I don't know. I mean, you're talking about anywhere between supposedly $300 and $400 more a month, a significant chunk of change. So we will learn more next week, but I'm hoping to do some things that kind of mitigate that problem. And if we can mitigate enough of it, maybe we can not change the maps, but I find that to be unlikely. Last night, the county voted to postpone the proposed Strategic Tourism Planning Board budget. That proposal to postpone just really kind of squeaked by with one vote. It came because some legislators want to see if it is legal for the county to reach into the room tax and refund itself money that it gave to the STPB in 2021. What we did back then was we gave about $500,000 to make our contracts whole. We have a contract, for example, with the tourism. There was no room tax money because everything was shut down. So we made those contracts whole. There is a couple, or at least one legislator who wants to go and grab that money back. because we really rebounded. The hotels are doing really well, and our room tax has gone up quite a bit. I'm completely against doing this. For me, it's like if we talk about hills to die on, at least Ed and I do. This is like a hill to die on for me. I think it's wrong that we would even kind of consider this. The room tax was developed for a very specific reason. It was to build tourism in our area. It was to go to arts and culture, and that's what that money is for, and I believe that's a covenant that shouldn't be broken. And frankly, I look at that $500,000 as an investment. Great, we invested it when they really needed it. They're a part of our community, and we bounced back faster because of that investment. I consider that a great ROI. I mean, 2 years later, we're bouncing along pretty well with the hotel tax. And hopefully that, the STPB has been around a long time. We're talking like a 20-year organization. The people that are on that, you would recognize their names. You would say, oh, they're running the hotels or they're running the Hangar Theater. I mean, it's from all walks too. So, yeah, the completely bad idea, I think, for them to do that. So we'll see what happens in 2 weeks because it was postponement. It wasn't a tabling. We are expecting a plan from the city tonight, actually, that will address the homeless situation in the city. We actually are seeing some overflow up in Lansing because of that. We will see what they do. The Continuum of Care has come up with it's a loose plan. People like to call things plans. I consider things plans when they have like land set aside and here's where the money's going to come from. But it is an idea. They say we want like 100 SRO units, single room occupancy units. They would like to see a new shelter. And I'm in agreement with all of those things. The city, they're going to cut down the camping and they're going to limit it. From what I understand today, they're going to limit it to where the jungle is. And then they are going to try to bring in some sanitary services like showers and stuff. I don't foresee them putting in a permanent shower structure. I sent them what I would do. If you really want showers to a place, you put them on a trailer and you trailer them to the place and you bring them back at night so they don't get trashed. They do that in some cities like Philadelphia and things like that. But that's what they're thinking. They're going to make an encampment down there. I don't know how well that's going to work because they don't really want to send police in there either. So, but I don't see how, if they're going to be part of the community, then I can't see how you don't send police if there's a problem there, obviously. We do have a budget retreat next week, and we are we're going to be setting a target for 2024. There's a lot of talk about an impending recession. I expect that there'll be calls for a leaner budget in 2023. Surprising to some, I may not be in that camp. We're going to see what the numbers look like. I mean, they're talking about maybe a double-digit increase, but if it was really going to be a double-digit increase in taxes, then I would think that we would have already been looking at cutting positions, and we haven't been. So stay tuned for that. I'll know a lot more on Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'll let you all know about it. Tompkins County Ethics Advisory Board, they did issue an advisory opinion in response to a complaint letter received in May of 2022. That was from Cynthia Brock about the actions of the mayor. The county, this is a county ethics board, that's why I'm reporting on it. They didn't find per se malfeasance. They did say that there was not enough transparency and that the mayor did act not completely correctly. And if you'd like to read the report, there is a link to it at the Tompkins County website. The opinion, the advisory opinion is interesting to read. It was, by a 4-0 vote, and the chair, Rich John, who has been taking a lot of heat for this, did abstain from the vote. So 4 other people thought this was correct. So the mayor, Savante Myrick, has come out against the report, saying that it is all false. I don't know. This took months and months to put together. So I encourage people, if they are interested in that, they should read the report, because there's a lot there. In closing, the county is reallocating $1.5 million to the community fund. We are now in the process of choosing where that money goes. I've already kind of done that. There were about 30 applicants for this money, and yeah, I think it actually spreads it out pretty well. A lot more organizations, I think, will be getting money. Child care is definitely high on the agenda for a lot of people. For me, jobs was more critical. I, for example, added the reuse center right over in the mall there, also downtown. I added them back into the mix, and I also promoted them because, well, I believe in reusing. I believe that they bring in a good amount of sales tax. But most importantly, they employ people that frankly, they're getting back on their feet. This might be their first job, and they might have gotten out of prison or whatever. And Reuse is one of the few places that hires folks like that. And then they get a year under their belt at Reuse, and then they're ready for their next job, hopefully. It's really one of the few places that does that, and that's why I supported them in this effort. That, my friends, is about it. Chamber of Commerce is also on the list, which I supported. Shortstop Deli, a cornerstone of the city, also employs a lot of people of color, young people of color, and so I liked that. And then there was a project out in Enfield I thought was pretty worthy too. So that, my friends, is it. So.
Any questions for Mike? You have mesmerized us.
Wow, I covered it all. See, that's what you get for sending a picture of Hazel before the meeting. People are
I
just,
know why Hazel sleeps so well.
this is right. This droning voice.
Thank you. Our next one is the highway report from Mike Mosley.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. My report's in front of you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Gearing up for some road work while still watching the weather. It did, for the people that weren't up at 3, it did snow this morning. But
Really?
it did. Higher elevations. A little bit warmer down by the lake. I'm a little bit
Okay.
colder where I live. But
Did you
not enough to
send-
warrant anything, but
You didn't send anybody out.
no, enough for me to get up.
Can we hold that for 1 minute, gentlemen? If you want to talk, can you go outside, please, just for a moment? Thank you. Just close the door behind you, please. Sorry. You're fine.
I guess I can comment a little bit on 2 Auburn Road. Scott Russell had asked me earlier this week if I could help him with the procurement policy and what's going on down there. Said I'm happy to. I'm going to meet with him Tuesday to go over that with him. And,
Okay.
to be honest, we walked through that, and it is disgusting. And for anybody to walk in there and start messing around is ill-advised for health reasons.
Yeah.
And that's why we put the barrier there. I mean, that trash and whatnot has been there prior to the town owning it. And our goal, I think everybody's goal here, is to clean it up. Unfortunately, we move at a snail's pace. But we move at a snail's pace for a reason, and that's to make sure that we do it right. And when we go to bid and we are spending taxpayers' money, it's done at the right way. So I think we're all on the same page. It's just a little bit slower than we want. That said, obviously my report's in front of you. Any questions, happy to answer. And that's where I'm at.
I guess my question is, when can we expect to actually get the report about Ludloville Road? Because we've been waiting for that for a long time, too.
We have, and I've been working with Dondi, and Stopin Engineering is, pulling teeth. My last conversation is, do not make me go back to the board and ask for more money, as we have already expended the money to get questions answered, such as the cost of a road, the cost of a path, and the cost of closing down the road. And basically reclaiming it, right? So, short of, I don't know, having a straight phone call myself with the man at Stopin, I guess that's the next step. That's the best I can do.
Because again, that's another issue that, people are using that road. They're not driving down it.
Right.
People are walking up and down.
Yep.
And I understand there's safety issues there, and I'm worried that the town's got liability as that road sits there, and I see the signs fall over every so often. I know you guys come and pick them back up.
We just put up new signs, actually. The barricades were, weathered and whatnot. I just purchased new ones and put them up, so. Yes, it's on my radar.
I see it's on your report.
Yep, it is, and I'm reaching out every time. So, at this point, maybe I'd try to just reach out to Stopin and see where we're at and apply a little pressure.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you, Mike.
yep.
Any questions for Mike? The only comment I'll have is that we are still looking into the Department of Public Works, and hopefully that'll be finalized by the end of the year. That's what my goal is. After that, be in somebody else's watch. But I think perhaps by next board meeting, we'll have a little bit more solid ground to do that. Working with Mary Ellen and, Guy and you, and, the board member wants to come on, no pun intended, board, but they ought to for continuity.
Mhm.
And I'll mention that also for future things we're doing, because I'm not going to be here at the end of the year, and somebody needs to be on board. So we can keep going forward. Hopefully we won't. Hopefully it'll be done. But if not, I don't want to have anybody in the lurch saying, now what do we do, type of thing, right? It doesn't matter who it is. I already have plans for you for something else, so please keep that. Don't jump on, no, this is all good. No, this is all good. He's always all good. No, this,
Well, it does matter who it is. You want people on this side.
That
of you
side
that-
of the t-
You want people on this side, because those folks are leaving with you.
That's right.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. So we better giddy up here, right?
So me and Ruth will start like piggybacking, going back and forth on this so that we get that continuity.
Well, I think maybe for the, Joe, for the Department of Public Works, it should be you.
Okay,
I want Ruth there for the Highway Department building.
okay.
For that, because there has to be a transition here. Even though we may be arm's length away when this goes, I want you in on this from the start, so you know the whole process of the financing of that's going on. I still have not got that report yet. I'll be proactive about this. Though I didn't check my emails today, you may have sent it today, or Bergman, about the residential center. I'll just segue in there real quick and I'll pull right back out. So I haven't heard that yet, and we have another meeting on Thursday, and I'll mention again to him that we need that report, like to finalize the residential center before we move forward.
This list is getting longer and longer.
Well, and so is the frustration,
Yes.
quite frankly. Even though at the last meeting, talking to Municipal Solutions, the rates were going down. I can't figure it out. But as long as they go down when we're ready to bond, great for us. So let's segue back here. So, yes, so we'll keep perhaps Ruth, or excuse me, Joe, for the Public Works Department and get that structure going. Get something definitive. Of course, Patrick will also be in on that, and we'll go from there, okay?
Sure, yeah, I mean, maybe something like a personnel committee or something of that sort, right? So we have whatever the board would like us to do and charge us with.
It'll be a small committee that can be dissolved at the end.
Sure, or whatever, I don't know, whatever it needs to be titled, I suppose, so.
Yeah, that will be fine.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you. Moving on to Park and Rec. Hello.
Hello.
Let's just start off by saying the wall, I wasn't here last time, the wall looks phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
That the gentleman worked on, and Scott Rafferty was a mason, still is, and it's nice to know that he's tutoring these two,
Yeah.
Owen and Ty.
It's been great.
Exceptional.
Yeah. Just a shout out to my staff. I mean, at one point today, I had 7 meetings scheduled. So they flexed some things and I had to delegate a few things today. So they did a great job. So, and thank you to Mikey as always for loaning us equipment to get things done. So that's been a huge help.
Well, you have an unofficial Department of Public Works.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Now we just made
And
it
has been
official.
for a while, yeah.
Exactly.
So, my report is in front of you. Any questions? I will point out, you probably noticed there's some sound throughout the room. If you do have to talk into your microphone.
I'm not hearing anything out of this one.
You gotta listen.
Do you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tap on it and I'm not hearing it. Yes,
So
I heard.
again, thank you to Mikey for loaning us one of his employees who is in Bad Alibi, which is a local band. Came down, I don't know anything about soundboards and I'm not gonna pretend to, so I called him and said, hey, look, do you know anything about soundboards? Yeah, I'll stop down and look at it. So he did. We changed a few wires, hit a few buttons. Lo and behold, we can have sound in the camera and we can have sound in the room. So,
Well, that was a cheaper fix than we were anticipating. That's
it
amazing.
is, but I did also have John Ryan from Sound on Sound in today to look at some things, and he thought we could tweak some things fairly cheaply and make it much better, so.
Awesome.
Do we get Zoom now too, or
Well, so Zoom will, if you talk into the microphone, that will
That will go
fix
over
the
Zoom.
sound on Zoom as well, yes.
Beautiful.
Yes,
That's a beautiful interim step.
yes.
Amazing.
All right, so now that you guys all purring,
Yeah.
now it's like, no, it's, anything else in your report that we haven't seen here, or you want to add to that?
I'll just, again, another shout out to Cornell Design Connect. We had a great presentation last week from them. They've done a phenomenal job from my opinion anyway. I think everyone else is of the same opinion as far as trail work that they're doing for us. And they have a final presentation, and then once they do that, I'll be able to give you the packet of information so you can have it. I think you'll be very impressed.
So let's slide over to Jones Falls.
Okay?
Since you're the chair of these committees, whatever, and they rely on you a lot because you're going to be the implementer, and your staff will be the implementer of this along with other people, do you think this is a good project? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm simply, and I'll premise this, the only concern I have is obviously the safety and the liability and everything else. And I also don't want this to be a sticking point for the Youngs if they're trying to move forward on their subdivision and that haven't been held hostage, or not even feel they're being held hostage. If this is something you feel comfortable, because this is going to be your baby if it goes through, and you're the one that's going to have to make sure we're okay with this, maintain it, and everything else. And I'm open-minded to this, and I respect people's abilities. That's why I'm asking for your opinion on this.
Well, it's going to be Guy's baby for a while before it's mine, but yeah, I mean, the Youngs are open to giving the easement to the town. I don't think the rest of the residents there are, so I don't know where we go from there. I don't know where we're at this point.
I would like to discuss this in a closed session because it's about property acquisition. There's a lot of stuff that,
We can stop.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Perfect. Any other questions for Pat? Okay. Let us move on. Do we have John's report as I'm digging through this? There it is. Okay. Engineer, did I see anything here? I don't believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong. Letter's a little fuzzy. Now we have town clerk.
I have a report, just highlighting that my tax collection from my office is completed, everything's been reconciled, I paid the money to the county, turned over the tax bills that were not paid. I did end up collecting over $20,000 in interest on the tax money. There's a new act. New York State has passed an act to amend the domestic relations law, which is requiring some marriage officiants to buy a one-day marriage officiant license from the town clerk that sells the license to the couple that wants to get married. I don't have a lot of details about that yet, but I'll know more about that at a conference later this month.
so are you saying if someone wants to marry a couple, they have to buy a license from you to do it?
Yes,
Okay,
in some situations.
yes, okay. You don't know the details, I just want to get the general idea
It's
down.
only good for just that one marriage.
Mhm.
It's not like if you want to marry somebody, you have to come in and buy a license specific to that couple that's getting married.
Mhm.
And the other thing I'd like to point out is there are 2-3 rabies clinics coming up April 22nd at the TCAT Bus Garage and May 3rd at the Danby Fire Station. And you can go on the Tompkins County Health website and pre-register for those.
Okay. Any questions for Mrs. Munson? Okay. One of the things I'd like to do also before the three of us leave at the end of the year is to have one of you two join me to look at, since the interest rates are starting to go up, now is the time to look at what the banks offer for the interest and see where we stand with that, if we want to stay where we are or if we want to move. I'd ask you, was your place getting full? All right.
Thank you.
And so, Andre, you and I had thought about doing that before. Would you be able to sit down with certain, see what they...
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Now let's go to the consent agenda, which, oh Lord, okay. We need to see more board members.
There's a lot.
So, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, how do I divide that by 4? All right, so y'all can do 3 each, how's that? So, Brown, you want to lead off and do the first
Sure.
3 on the consent agenda?
Consent agenda. A, motion authorizing Town of Lansing Supervisor to sign Lansing Youth Services 2023 agreement. B, motion authorizing Supervisor to sign agreement for the payment of municipal engineering, consulting, and legal expenses with Yellow Barn Solar LLC. C, motion authorizing Supervisor to sign Lansing Youth Commission Program Agreement for 2023 with Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Andre, will you do the next 3, please?
Yep. D, motion authorizing supervisor to sign Incetero and Company CPAs LLP engagement letter. E, motion amending town employee handbook 802 vacation leave. F, motion amending town employee handbook 807 health insurance for retirees.
Okay. Ruth, will you do the next 3, please?
G, motion amending Town Employee Handbook, Section 702, overtime pay and compensatory time. H, motion setting public hearing for local law authorizing a property tax exemption to volunteer firefighters, and volunteer ambulance workers. And I, resolution creating town position of code enforcement officer training and appointing Heather Dries to such position.
Joe, you do the next 3, please?
Resolution affirming appointment as information aide and transferring employee to same position in new department. K, resolution appointing director of planning and setting salary for such position. L, resolution appointing information aide in supervisor's office. You want me to do M?
Sure, you're on a roll.
M, resolution approving purchase of one 2023 Ford F-150 pickup truck for use in the code and planning departments. And I will move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Mrs. Monson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Ruth Brock,
Yes.
Brian Wilson,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay.
So what page does the consent agenda end on?
Well, bear with us here.
You're on 114, will be next.
Thank you.
114? Okay. So, next one is motion authorizing town of Lansing supervisor to sign NICEAG easement for 10 Town Barn Road. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Appreciate Guy's explanation on that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very long history, so I wanted the newer people to understand it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Munson?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay. B, resolution approving of standard workday and reporting for elected and appointed officials.
I'll move that too.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Is there something we forgot to do in our January stuff?
No?
It's just a new thing that came up? Okay.
Something you have to do basically after someone gets elected, but you don't do that quickly. You have the opportunity to fill out that for 3 months that,
I remember that, yes.
Oh, okay, so that's when
Going
that's
back
all
to
done.
I had to do it twice.
that record of activities.
Talk to Joe Jones for 30 minutes about whatever, talk to, right?
I had to do it
Right.
twice because you determined my first time didn't really count.
I didn't turn it down, so let's get this straight, okay?
But yes,
It is actually good, you can actually, you have to, first, you can actually redo it anytime you want to, anyone that wants to redo that.
Oh, okay.
But you can also just recertify So it's, your initial one can be good for up to 8 years. So if
Okay.
your activities and time are still pretty much the same, you can just sign a recertification.
So you two have something to think about. Us three don't.
Yeah.
I'll give myself 5 seconds to go over and bang 4 of them, right? Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions, comments before we move on?
Amber Benson,
Yes.
Ruth Croft,
Yes.
Brian Wilson,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. 9C, resolution supporting state funding subsidy for municipalities who operate or contract with public and non-for-profit EMS agencies.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Bunsen?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Ruth Croft,
Yes.
Brian Wilson,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. 9D, resolution approving audit and budget modifications.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
I have a question about ARPA funds. Are we going to put together a plan for spending those? Because I know we're coming up on having to make a decision one way or another, and I don't want to have to give the money back.
So we haven't, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, Marilyn, but I don't think I am. We have through 2024. Now, the budget's coming, season's coming up. That's when we'll have that discussion. If we want to allocate any more for the equipment, if you do want to buy any equipment, what to do with the ARPA money, because we're trying to, once again, get that fund balance back up. So that, I think, is when we'll have that discussion, which budget season is just around the corner, basically. And we can discuss that. And I'm trying to remember how much is left in the pot. I don't have that.
About 250,
Okay, 250,000. Okay.
because we used a lot for equipment. There's a lot of approvals for using ARPA to
Mhm.
equipment, so
I just don't want to give any back.
agreed.
Yeah, no, we won't. But we have until through 2024, so we have time.
I understand, but it's coming up quickly.
But it's always good to be reminded. Any other comments before we move forward? Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Ruth Croft,
Yes.
Brian Wilson,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Board member reports. Look like your record's intact, Andra. So, do you want to lead off, Andra? Anything else to report?
Not really. You have the report from the library and then the report from Youth Services, which is also doing a very good job and looking forward to serving the kids in the summer.
Perfect.
Yep.
The more the merrier.
Yes.
Okay, Ruth?
Mine's in the packet. Does anybody
Okay.
have any questions on it?
No, is riveting as always. Thank you.
With lots of detail.
Yes. Bronwyn?
The only thing I have to report that is useful for everybody to know is that the ZBA is looking to switch their regular scheduled meeting to the second Wednesday because that's when there's not a conflict in this room, and so
That'd be great.
it can meet in here.
Because they normally meet over at the,
They have to meet in the
Library?
bottom of the library, yeah, and so recording and live streaming and all of that isn't happening, and so
Okay.
that's their plan.
okay.
Do you know when that's going to happen?
I think, John's not here, I think the next meeting is the goal, for that to happen at the next meeting. And I did say, you know, there are some special meetings planned at the end of the year, and they said, yeah, if those happen to be on the same, we'll work around them. So they have a heads up about that, if those are on the second Wednesdays, I don't recall.
Okay, so there is I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is a calendar. for
Yes,
this,
yep, and we all looked at it.
And put CBA right on
I
there, so
think they
somebody else
did,
doesn't-
I think so, I'll be sure, yep.
So if the town board needs one of those Wednesdays, they'll just move their meeting?
I think that's the plan, you know, not sort of like, oh, we need it next week, but
There's that
for the
potential.
budget meeting in November,
Exactly,
that sort of thing.
exactly.
They had a heads up.
That'll be a one time.
Exactly, so,
All right.
that's all.
Okay. Anything else, Bronwyn?
Nope.
Okay, Joe?
Just want to say that me, Bronwyn, and Guy have been working on trying to redo the committee structure, and there's been a lot of thought and discussion on it, and we're in process, and we'll be coming, I hope next month, with a draft for the whole group to work with.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
I gave a report
Mm-hmm.
late as usual,
We're not throwing stones.
just acknowledging that I should be getting them in earlier, and, you know, at least I get them in before the meeting.
It's all right. It's okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. A couple things. I'm going to reach out to, first of all, Debbie Munson. Has Mitch Quine reached out for you to reserve this area for a presentation for Yellow Barn? Is there a date for that? Could you share that date? Shall I treat you as a hostile witness here? I mean,
Would you like the
did I do it
calendar?
okay, guy?
I believe it's the 20th, next
Is that the solar guy?
Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a solar guy.
Okay, so he was scheduled, but he is gonna be in the community center,
Okay, on which day?
26th, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Same day as the FEMA.
This,
April.
it's next week.
okay. So 26th would be next Wednesday, right? Okay. Okay. So, working through this, right? Getting back to Yellow Barn, working through, meeting with them, and by the way, we have an excellent relationship with the Groton supervisor and Fran, the attorney, and their whole team, with Guy and myself. And we bring in John every once in a while. And once again, if somebody else from the board wants to get in on this, I say be part of this, feel free, only because this
It's
is not
not,
the,
it's not going to be done by the end of this year.
and it's not going to be the only one. There's other ones that are starting to bubble up again. And this may happen again, and we may hopefully not learn any painful lessons the first time around. So we have a certain percent in Groton, a certain percent in Lansing. We have this escrow account that we're developed, and we'll pay some of the bills on that. This is the ORS money, right, which is, what, $1,000 per megawatt is, that's right, so it's 160 megawatts, so it's 160,000 for us. But once again, we're in uncharted water, so we're trying to be very due diligent about this, and we'll keep everyone informed, especially when you deal with the pilot, but also the host community agreement. And that could be another source of revenue for the town only.
I will volunteer to be part of it because I've been part of the whole solar law beforehand, so I've got
That's
a
fine.
little bit of background on this.
That's fine, that's fine. And once again, you'll have continuity. Both of you will be here at least, right?
I
2 more
hope to
years.
be.
Well, that's not a, right?
I don't have full choice there.
Yeah, no, it's good. So anyways, it would be good to have some continuity going forward, so we build up some intellectual capital here, so we don't learn by our mistakes again. And we can, when we do our Zoom meetings, we can bring you in.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember when they usually are, but they're not on a regular basis.
You'll tell me.
Yes. Let's pivot to the highway. So the highway usually is Thursday at 10 o'clock, I think. Every Thursday at 10 o'clock. And sometimes,
Thursday? Okay.
yeah, every time, and sometimes that they're quick. And it may be the fact that you're going to have two different types of bonds here, one for the soft costs, and then one for the actual bid for the project. Once again, uncharted water, we'll see where this goes, and, but those are discussions we're having. Nothing's been finalized because we can't finalize anything until the board. Yes, sir?
Just to add to the Thursday at 10, that might shift. There's a conflict with the project review committee.
The capital improvement
Capital
committee?
improvement, one of the two, I'm sorry, there's one on too many committees. But yes, one of the two committees is starting at the same time. So the last meeting I attended, we had split. Dave Herrick and I were one, and I think you and Guy maybe were the other. And so we did talk to, Dave Herrick and I talked to Irvin about changing the time.
To be
I'll get back to you.
determined.
I'll get back to you on that.
No, this is fine, because right now it's just, okay, we're going through some of the basics, but we haven't got really into the meat yet, right?
Ruth and I had a discussion with Leah Webb's staff when they had a open house out here, and one of the things they said is they think there's some money in the state to help us with the barn project, and they think there's some federal money available for that. And I know Ruth started looking into feelers on how to get some of that money to help pay for that.
Well, it sounds like you're the right person then to be on this committee then.
Unfortunately, the deadline was March something for this year, but you can get in next year.
Well, there'll be another cycle,
Yep.
and that's not the only project that's out there
Right.
for us.
Right.
But this sounds like one that we can easily get some funding for, and some funding means lower tax rates for our residents.
Hopefully, that's what the hope is. Hopefully.
So we'll keep looking into that.
Okay.
And I'm sure there are others out there too.
Yes.
Look into.
I do want to go in executive session pertaining to a certain, I don't know what you call it, contract, whatever, we can talk about that a little bit later. What else from my end? Airport. Now there's a route to Kennedy Airport from here. And I've had 2 relatives. It's interesting, when we used to go down south, we go to Detroit, or we used to go to Pittsburgh, and then you had your 6 to 8 hour wait. It is what it is. And then you went to Detroit, and then you had to go through the bowels of the airport, which is fine, as long as you can still move, and you know what I'm talking about. The one in Kennedy is interesting because you got like an hour and 10 minutes sometimes, which sometimes is a little bit too.
That's a little short sometimes.
Had a great vacation in your bags, had a great time someplace else, so to speak, right? So anyways, having said that, my point is now we have 2 carriers instead of 3, and with Delta picking up Kennedy, it is starting to pick up that part. So there is a positive to that, as they're continuing to try to find carriers or bodies. And sometimes what happens, my understanding is, with Kennedy, they'll drop them off, and then that plane is used to go to Massachusetts or other places, and then they fly back. It's an Airbus, basically. And the future's here, that's what they are. So there is progress, there is positives there. And quite frankly, when I had to take my sister-in-law to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, I appreciated it was in Ithaca, it was not in Syracuse. And also when I had to pick up my daughter in the middle of a snowstorm, I appreciated it was in Ithaca, and as opposed to going to Syracuse saying, if I survive this trip, I'm going to enjoy her company. And here we are. And I've had those discussions with myself before. So there is progress here. I'm not lobbying. I'm simply giving you testimony that for me personally, a few extra dollars or whatever is worth that inconvenience. If there are a few extra dollars, I don't know. But I was very pleased both times with Delta, with Kennedy. Having said that, we can go to work session right now if you like. Is there something we want to discuss with the pathways? Or did we already touch base on that? I think my thought was the Jones Falls situation. And while you were out there talking to Mike, we had mentioned that we are working on this situation. And we'll see where this goes with you. And also there's concerns from maybe the residents around it. I don't know. Yes?
We're both residents.
Okay.
And we would like to be included.
What will happen is that there'll be discussions, there'll be an open forum, and if you want to come at the start of the next meeting for privilege of the floor and share those also, you can do that then. Nothing will be finalized, obviously, we'll be talking openly, and you'll have ample opportunity to share your concerns.
Okay.
If you also want to send us an email, I will distribute it to all the residents, or all the board members here.
All the residents.
Yeah, go figure. Okay, a little Freudian slip here. Yeah, I'm 8 months too early. To the other board members and to the head of the planning department and the code officer, and we'll see, and to Patrick, and see where this goes, okay? But your input is critical because we want to see where the pluses, the minuses are. And there's concerns we'd like to hear about, okay?
So my question, what is their plan?
So this is not the time to discuss it because we don't know what the plan is yet. We're still in the initial stages with that. But there will be something formal, and it'll be something to be looked at, and it'll be something to be commented on publicly for us to consider your concerns, just like we went through with the zoning.
Well, from my understanding, though, there's already been a plan arranged with Jack Young on an easement on his property in doing the subdivision.
We are discussing this right now.
Oh, we're just discussing it, so
Nothing to formalize to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, let me just quickly say, at the planning board level, Jack Young has offered as part of his development to give the town an easement. The town board would have to accept that easement. The town board has not discussed this at all as of yet, so we don't have a plan, or we don't have a consensus, or we don't even have a discussion yet. And so we want to discuss if we want to accept it, so that when the planning board's discussing with Jack Young and his folks, what's going on, we could be kind of on parallel paths, because we don't want the planning board to say, you have to give this to the town, and then have the town board say no.
Well, that's what he's telling us, is that he's required to give the easement.
The planning board is asking it of him.
They're asking it, so they're not requiring it.
They're not, they can't require it because
That's why they thought-
we're the ones that have to accept it, and they can't require him to do something that he has no control over.
So you're welcome to come to the planning board meetings also. The agendas are posted on that. You're welcome to come here again. Like I said before, come at the start of the meeting at 6:30. You'll have privilege of the floor, and you'll be able to be on record also. This is somewhat of an informal type of thing, which I'll bend the rules because I want to hear from you. But for the future, what the procedure is that at the start, you have privilege of the floor. You have up to 3 minutes. Share it with us. Also, put something in an email or a letter so we have it documented here also, okay?
Okay.
Send it to you directly.
Okay, that's
Or
fine.
you send it to any of us and we'll share it. I would be open to giving them a couple of minutes if they wanted to say something to us, just so everyone can hear from them, because we're going to be talking about it. And let's
How's
hear
the rest of the board feel?
Like equivalent to a privilege of the floor
Yeah.
sort of thing?
So I'll just open this back up, okay? We'll open up the privilege of the floor again, so you'll have like 3 minutes share, okay? And talk to us directly, nothing derogatory towards anybody else, but if you have concerns, if you want to come up here and talk, or talk where you're comfortable, share with us now, or if you want to take time to formulate your thoughts and get back to us, that's also appropriate.
So,
They should come up here, so.
I agree. You need to come right so it's on record, please.
and so I'm Michael Herbster. I'm co-owner of 112 East Shore Circle. My wife and I own it together. And currently, we are not wanting to allow an easement going through the property, which is on the east side of Jack Young's property, closer to the waterfall. Part of what's been very upsetting is that there was no communication with us till just yesterday about the idea of there being an easement all the way to the waterfall. And we got a letter from Jack Young, or my wife got a letter basically making it sound like this was gonna...
It's okay, Mike, just be objective and just talk to us, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it made it sound like it was for the good of everybody, and it sort of feels like to us that it's been more for the good of Jack. And there was an easement before that we signed that was for the Finger Lakes Land Trust, I believe it was originally, and then I think the town took over. But you know, we signed it because he basically wanted us to, and it was important to him, and also to Leonard Moore, who is deceased now. His son is here. But he also sort of felt like it would be nice if people could enjoy the waterfall. But
Okay.
anyway, there's been different issues with people parking on the road and walking on our property and thinking that our property was part of the trail and things like that, and teens going down there. So we just feel like, you know, something bad could happen down there. It sort of reminds us a little bit of the East Shore Sailing Club down on 34 near Stewart Park. You know, the swimming area that is in the summertime very overrun, and we're worried about things like that happening down
Sure.
in the waterfall. And originally bought the property, Leonard is my father, or was my father-in-law. He's Ramona's stepfather. And we wanted to be close to him, but also beautiful property, and it's, I mean, not often you can own something like that, and, there's different feelings of, do you really want to share it with everybody, or
Understand?
is it yours?
Understand.
So that's all I have to say right now, but
Okay.
we would like to be more involved, and we felt very left out by,
Well, moving forward, I think you won't be left out.
okay,
You should be on that list, and I'll make sure Heather is aware of that both of you are on that list. And if you, when you email me, if you can give me the addresses, they can keep you in the loop, mail stuff to you.
yep,
Also be aware of our planning board meetings, and there's a list of the agenda there also.
okay.
And share your concerns also with them. And if you can do it in writing with an email or a letter, that would be helpful. But if you feel comfortable just speaking to us, that's okay too.
Well, Ramona will also send you something, so, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I'm Robert Moore, Leonard's son. And so I was wanting to say, we've been to live there since I was 3.
Mhm.
Thing is, that gorge has changed. And so you people need to realize you need to do an environmental impact study for it. Because all the wildlife's gone. A lot of the foliage is gone. It's just being trampled or whatever. They're digging up fossils out of there. You can look that up on the internet. So therefore, them having access to the falls is actually hurting it. I don't know if you realize that or not. And so there might be other viable options. I'm up in Northern California. What you do is you do a permit thing. You only grant 2 a day or whatever, or you take people down in groups. Therefore, that makes more sense. It's more controlled access, and then people, you're escorted. So some viable options just to give free rein, people going in and out of there all day long. They're down there at night too, which you guys don't know, because we live up there. And then they're taking all the mushrooms, which is, not a big deal, just that they're all gone. And so therefore, you guys want to have access to the falls. The access to the falls is costing everything else. So that's just what I want to say. You have to realize that.
Thank you, that's all good information.
Okay.
Thank you both for coming in. So, is there anything else we need to discuss for the work session with the pathways?
Not really.
Okay. And the library discussion, I think we'll postpone that for now. First, do you want to take a quick break? Or do you want to keep going?
To executive for post?
To executive session. Does anyone need to take a break for any reason? Okay.
I'm good.
So Joe had mentioned that we should go into closed session for,
Guy tells me which one's which, I can never remember.
Well, if it's to get advice of counsel, or that would normally be closed, but there's others closed. If it's to discuss the acquisition of land or securities where disclosure of the terms of acquisition could affect the terms of the deal, then it could be executive session. You're not mandated to go into either unless you're dealing with something that's protected by confidentiality. Like, you couldn't discuss someone's medical condition publicly.
I would like to go into executive session for
Yeah.
those reasons.
Okay.
On a different matter probably than yours, Joe. I don't know if we can bundle these together.
I think we just have to list what reason.
That was my reason for going in. was the
Okay,
one-
we're talking about
We're talking about property.
Yep.
property acquisition. I think we're talking about 2 different property acquisition potentials.
Yes.
That's the only reason you're going in, just property acquisition.
For me,
And
For us as well, yeah.
for me, that's the only, I have one, but I also want to respect his concerns about another issue.
But is the other issue also property
Yes.
acquisition?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't understand. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Can you go into executive session too? I mean, I don't know how that works. So yours might be for financial credit or employment history of a particular person? Yeah. Okay.
So you're
Okay,
3.
I'll add that.
right. So if we need to add it, yeah.
Okay.
It needs to come from the board members, but that's okay.
Okay.
So we'll just transfer it from me or from Joe over to there through us.
So
for
do you
your
want to make an
concerns.
overall motion, Ed, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I move that we go in for potential acquisition of property and to discuss a specific medical issue personnel about a specific person. Whatever it says on the green card.
So does Mikey have to stay here for that? I would say yes. Does Pat have to stay here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so Griff, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Jesse, I have to ask you to leave. Thank you, always good to see both of you.
Oh,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.